On this channel, we have talked about some of the major pieces the Cleveland Browns acquired during the 2018 NFL Draft. We talked about Baker Mayfield's epic comeback versus the Jets, and we talked about how Denzel Ward is already playing like an elite cornerback. One acquisition the Browns made this offseason that isn't getting enough attention was their pick of Nick Chubb in the second round. The former Georgia running back has been very impressive in his rookie season. On his 74 runs, he's averaging over 5.5 yards per carry. For this video, I wanted to talk about what makes Chubb so good in this offense. In my opinion, he'll be a centerpiece for this team going forward. Before we look at some of his runs though, I went through and tracked each of his carries so far this year. As you can see, the Browns balance a nice mixture of zone and man concepts. They don't stick to any one play on any drive. For Chubb, his best two runs by far are inside zone and counter. Based on my tracking, he's gained a significant number of yards in addition to what his offensive line blocked. Generally speaking, what's kind of interesting about Chubb in this offense was that he was only getting 2 or 3 carries a game up until week 7 against the Buccaneers. For some reason, Chubb was in the Browns' doghouse. No pun intended there, but he barely got any real opportunities to show what he could do. In week 4, Chubb put up a monster 100-yard performance against the Raiders, and he did that all in just 3 carries. Yes, I said 3 carries, but even after that game, he still didn't get any more snaps the following week. To really begin this film portion of this breakdown, we'll start by looking at his first carry from the second quarter of that game. On that play, the Browns ran a counter to the weak side. The left guard and the tight end pulled across the formation while a gigantic hole appeared in the B gap. Chubb took the ball and he immediately sprinted into this hole. Once he got to the linebacker, he made contact, dragged him for a few yards, and then he broke free in order to get outside. This is how he got to the sideline. Once he got into open space, he used his speed to burst down the field before outrunning the backside cornerback for a 63-yard touchdown. So that run showcased a few traits that I love about his running style. He's powerful and he consistently sets up defenders in order to maximize his chance of breaking a tackle. Outside of this trait, something that I didn't expect him to have was a natural calmness in the backfield under pressure. Seeing a defender burst through a hole and you as the running back have to immediately react is something he didn't have to deal with a ton at Georgia. However, he did a fantastic job 2 runs later where he gained 41 yards. The Browns ran inside zone out of shotgun. After faking the jet sweep to one of their receivers, Chubb took the handoff on the backfield. Instead of having the clear hole he had in the last play, one of the Raiders defenders blitzed through the A-gap and he was there to make a tackle for loss. Instead of panicking like many would in this situation, Chubb hopped around this defender and then he instantly turned on his jets. He broke 2 tackles at the line of scrimmage and made his way to the second level where he met the Raiders safety. Now, if Chubb was tackled at this point in this play, it would still have been a good run. But what he did next was awesome. He juked the safety in space to break another tackle, and that's how he got down the field for his second touchdown this game. I mentioned this earlier, but after seeing these 2 huge runs on just 3 carries, mind you, how the hell was Chubb not given more snaps in his next game? Even in this one, this last carry came in the 4th quarter, but the game still went to overtime. They kept handing the ball to Carlos Hyde while he averaged under 4 yards per carry instead of feeding the guy that literally broke the game open. Now maybe they had a reason to do this, but at the very least, you would have guessed that Chubb would have gotten more than 3 carries the following week. You guessed that, right? Well, you'd be wrong. In Chubb's next 2 games, he had a total of 6 carries and nothing more. This included this 19-yard run in the Chargers game. On this play, the Browns ran outside zone to their left. The defensive end clubbed his way into the backfield and he met Chubb for what could have been a 3-yard loss on the play. Instead of panicking, and just like in the last play, Chubb casually stepped around this tackle attempt. He then used his speed to get outside, and he created another big run after escaping initial pressure in the backfield. Outside of this awesome trait to avoid these big negative runs, Chubb plays with a good pad level and he has enough lower body strength to break tackles. He has a low center of gravity, and he pairs that with excellent footwork to cut through creases. There were multiple plays where he used his power to push the pile and to help his offense gain additional yards when nothing was originally there. This run against the Buccaneers showed that. His balance and power are awesome. The Browns ran inside zone out of shotgun. On the trip side, they have a built-in bubble screen, but Mayfield decided to hand the ball to the running back. Chubb took the ball and he instantly attacked the backside B gap between the left guard and the left tackle. This hole quickly closed and the defensive end had him dead to rights. He has him wrapped up, but this wasn't enough to take him to the ground. Chubb fought off the tackle, used his hand to stay on his feet, and then he fought off another defender in the second level. Instead of going down here, he again kept his feet churning and somehow turned this short yard carry into a 12-yard gain. What's nice about this skill set that I've shown you so far is that it's very well suited for short yardage or goal line situations. He's already been used on a few this season. The Browns coaching staff finally seems to trust him as a pure runner, and he should get more opportunities like this one in the future. Now for the negatives. As I was going through his tape, there were some things that I didn't like. One thing that stood out to me was that he sometimes has a problem with overrunning an opening hole. This consistently came up even on his limited carries. I love his power, I love his balance, but if I had to point to one aspect of him as a runner that I think he can improve on, this is definitely it. I feel like it mainly happens when he's running horizontally on his zone stretch carry, but it did happen on other runs as well. In my opinion, I think he has good burst to press the edge, but he needs to use that same burst to create a cutback back inside. He needs to trust that after he threatens to bounce his run outside, that a hole will open up in the defense. These holes will close quickly, but I think this will help him improve in the future. Outside of his skill set as a runner, Chubb isn't the best as a third down option for this team. So far in the year, he's played on very few passing snaps, and he truthfully hasn't looked great in those attempts. As a receiver, he's made 3 catches on 7 targets, and he dropped a pass against the Ravens. When it came his time as a blocker, it's a similar story as well. He allowed a sack, a hit, and a pressure, all in less than 10 total snaps. This is just one thing Chubb will have to work on in order to round out his skill set. Now, I will note that in this offense, the Browns don't exactly need him to be great in these plays. They gave Duke Johnson a 3-year extension this offseason, and he's one of the best third down backs in the game. For how good of a runner I think Chubb can be, Johnson is just as excellent as a receiver and as a blocker. Having the duo of Chubb and Johnson, or Chubby Johnson, which is what I'd call myself if I was an 80s porn star, I think the Browns' backfield is just fine. In my opinion, his skill set and his talent as a pure runner on first and second down more than makes up for his lack of third down abilities. Overall, with guys like Baker Mayfield and Denzel Ward, Nick Chubb seems like the forgotten man in Cleveland. The Browns have so much talent at a lot of their positions, and with Hugh Jackson finally gone, I think the only way this team will go is up. If they continue to give him 15 to 20 touches a game, plus all those goal line opportunities, I strongly believe Chubb will be a very good running back for this offense. Well, that's all I have for you in this one. For the rest of the season, MyBookie is my official sponsor. If you want a 100% sign-up bonus for up to $1,000, you can use the promo code SAM100. I'll continue doing breakdowns like this one all season long, and on Saturday mornings, I'll also be giving betting advice as well. You are more than welcome to join in, bet against me, or bet on one of the many other sports and games they offer. Thank you so much for all of your support and for watching my videos. If you want to keep this channel going, you can support me on my Patreon account, or you can find me on Twitter at SamuelRGold.